Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell here. The new year is upon us, and even under the best of circumstances, the creative process can cover some pretty rocky terrain, and our spidey senses tell us 2025 may bring even more challenging conditions. Now more than ever, we believe everyone is creative, but smart creatives don't go it alone. That's why we hope you'll join us and other awesome creatives on January 1st for the SparkFile 2025 New Year Creativity Kickoff. At this one-day virtual retreat, you'll clarify what you want to create and how you want to get there. You'll meet other makers, you'll strengthen your creative resolve, and you'll leave with an action plan for making your creative dreams a reality. It's all happening on January 1st. Visit thesparkfile.com to register for the SparkFile 2025 New Year Creativity Kickoff and to take advantage of early registration incentives like lower pricing. Y'all, in 2025, let's link arms, fear less, and create more. We'll see you there.
The SparkFile podcast may contain profanity and other adult content.
Please use your discretion.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I want to make or how I want to be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Welcome to the Spark File, where we believe that everyone is creative, but smart creative people don't go it alone.
Hey, I'm Laura Camion.
And I'm Susan Blackwell, and we are creativity coaches who help people clarify and accomplish their creative goals.
You should know that just by listening to this podcast, you are joining a warm and wonderful clan of creatives.
But you also may be asking yourself, what exactly is a Spark File?
Well, a spark file is a place where you consistently collect all of your inspirations and fascinations. Every episode, we're going to reach into our personal spark files and exchange some sparks. And from time to time, we're going to talk to some folks who spark us too.
And your mission, should you choose to accept it, is to take some of those sparks of inspiration and make something of your own. So without further ado, let's open up the Spark File. Laura.
Hi, Suze.
Hiya.
How are you doing?
I'm really good, and I'm really excited because I love Spark Day, and I love it when you spark me.
Oh, Spark Day is so fun. And I have a fun little spark for you today, I think.
I'm into it.
It's a little one, but it's one that has, taken up a little space in my mind recently. So I thought, maybe I better share this. This week, I read an article in The Atlantic by John Hendrickson. It's about the word of the year, according to Oxford.
It's the word of the year.
Do you know?
Wait.
Know what the word of the year is?
I heard it and I lost it. Can't pull it up.
I'm going to tell you.
It's going to, yep, go ahead.
Oxford word of the year is brain rot. Obviously, we know that's two words, but we're going to let that slide. Brain rot.
You know what? I don't think I knew that.
Well, Suze,
that is dark.
Sat with me for a moment. Yeah, it is dark because, they've been under a lot of criticism because of, I don't know, I guess just how, because number one, it's two words, not one. But because it is dark, it is a certain, it could be perceived as a certain generational type of thing. Last year, the Oxford word was Riz, which is a little bit more peppy.
I think when you said, do you know what the word is? I think I was still back on Riz.
Still on Riz, yeah.
Yep.
Which, if you're not, tapped in, it's charisma, short for charisma. Anyway, according to Oxford, brain rot is the word of the year, and no other word or phrase seemingly better captures this distinct blend of listlessness, exhaustion, haziness, dissatisfaction that a lot of people are feeling right now and trying to describe right now. So Oxford defines brain rot as a supposed deterioration of a person's mental or intellectual state, especially viewed as a result of overconsumption of material considered to be trivial or unchallenging. Let's hear that again. Overconsumption of material considered to be trivial or unchallenging,
Okay.
particularly online content.
Yeah, I thought that's where we
Okay.
were headed.
That's where we're headed. That's where the majority of it comes from, and how we spend, I I still want to throw my phone across the room when it tells me how many hours a day I have been on it. And I'm like, how is that possible? I'm like, I don't have that many hours in the day. And I'm like, well, that's because they got sucked into that.
Mm-hmm.
So in this article, Hendrickson uses an example that happened to show up on that very day in his social media feed. At the time, we were in the midst of starting to hear about and contemplating all the cabinet member nominations and the news of which public programs might be cut when the next administration comes into office and other pretty damn important topics.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, what the president-elect posted on his so-called Truth Social account was a manufactured image of present-day Donald Trump hanging out with Elvis Presley. And there was no joke associated and no comment. And the whole thing was made to look like it was a historical artifact, which is ridiculous. And you could argue, who cares? Like, what does that matter? Taken alone, obviously, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter at all. It's pointless. And that is exactly the point. How many of these absolutely meaningless, mindless images do we scroll past every day from everyone, every brand in our social media feeds? They're not informative, meaningful, intelligent, thought provoking. They're not a celebration of art or literature or higher thought. They don't appeal to our understanding of humanity. They don't contribute to any higher purpose at all. Apparently, according to this article, the people in the president-elect's feed absolutely loved this post and went on to share additional AI-generated images that they created. Again, harmless, but again, pointless. The problem isn't just one image, and it's not at all even about politics. It's not about AI. This was just the example that the author of this article used to make the point about brain rot. Even the human being in the highest office of our country's government uses his time in an absolutely pointless way.
Is the inference that he was puttering around on AI and generated this, or was
No,
it
just that he even thought to share it. Like that he took the time it takes
that he
to
was like,
grab it and
cool? Yeah,
let's just share this.
yeah.
This absolutely meaningless, pointless, no comment, no thought-provoking message. Just,
Mm-hmm.
the point here is that's just one image, one of a million that we simply just absorb hour after hour every day. Hendrickson writes, brain rot stems from this daily avalanche of meaningless images and videos, all of those little tumbling content particles that do not stir the soul. So I was amused and appalled to learn that the term for AI generated images is slop.
Oh,
Did you know that?
I had heard that,
What an
and it kind of makes
amazing.
sense.
It's so accurate. Slop. Doesn't that just make you think of the unidentifiable cafeteria food? Just spoonful after spoonful of slop being dished out. And Problem is that all of this slop is taking up valuable space in our brain. It shortens our attention span, which in turn makes it harder for us to take in the more meaningful content when we do feel inclined to pick up a book or learn a new skill or even a new game. Anything that takes longer than 2 seconds. I'll even say this, sometimes when I'm scrolling, there is something deep and meaningful that I would like to think about, and I will hit save
Yep.
so I can think about it later,
Yep.
because right now I'm busy consuming slop.
Uh-huh.
That's what my brain is
Uh-huh.
doing, and I don't have any room for the more meaningful and nutritious food. So, brain rot is the neurological equivalent of donuts for dinner. It's like you have filled yourself up, but you have not really, gotten any
Nourished yourself.
nourishment.
Yeah.
So, according to the article in The Atlantic, brain rot doesn't hurt. It's dulling, numbing, something more like a steady drip. You know you have it when you have consumed, but you are most certainly not filled up.
Mm.
And the deluge of disposable digital stuff often feels like a self fulfilling, self deadening prophecy. Rotting brains crave more slop.
Oh my God. It's just like zombies.
It's like
It's a zombie equation.
zombies. It is. It is. Remember that movie, Wall-E? It's like that.
Yeah.
Like, and don't take my slop away from me.
Yeah.
I'm just busy feeding this. So, oh my God, the article even points out this. There are times we're taking in slop while we're taking in slop. Think about the TV equivalent, like the reality shows that feel designed to watch while you're looking at something else on your phone,
Uh-huh.
right?
Yep.
It's like, I think about, remember Muzak, that
Yep.
elevator music
Yep.
designed so that you were in fact hearing music, but you could talk over it. You could have a conversation at
Mm-hmm.
the same
Mm-hmm.
time. People were highly critical of music at the time because it wasn't really music. It was designed to like allow us to do something else. Now that seems so tame. It was actually trying to allow us to have a conversation despite some sounds in
Mm-hmm.
the around us. But look at now, we're creating content to be consumed while we're consuming other content. It's just slop on top of slop. So, the history lover in me was excited to learn this. Hendrickson really came through in this article for me. He said, though it seems highly modern, brain rot as a phrase dates back to Henry David Thoreau, the transcendentalist, the contemporary of Ralph Waldo Emerson, one of the founders of the Atlantic magazine. As Oxford University Press notes on its website, the first recorded use of brain rot was found in 1854 in Henry David Thoreau's book, Walden, which reports his experiences of living a simple lifestyle in the natural world. As part of his conclusions, Thoreau criticizes society's tendency to devalue complex ideas, or those that can be interpreted in multiple ways, in favor of simple ones, and sees this as indicative of a general decline in mental and intellectual effort. He says, while England endeavors to cure the potato rot, will not any endeavor to cure the brain rot, which prevails so much more wildly and fatally?
Buckle up. You don't even know what's coming.
1854.
Mm.
And I think about like just last year in politics, we were talking with like Hannah Marie Marcus. Hi, Hannah Marie, if you're listening. And she's like, well, this country decided long ago we did not want to be nuanced.
Mm.
We didn't want to deal with any
Right.
topics where more than one thing could be true.
Mm.
Or as Thoreau says, those things that could be interpreted in multiple ways, complex ideas. Oh, I just can't believe it. It's nice to know, as the article points out, that today Walden Pond outside of Boston is one of the surest places that you can visit to alleviate brain rot still to this day. You can swim in the cool, reflective water, stare at the swaying trees, wander around the muddy shore. Even just the description of that stirs my soul.
Yeah. This also reminds me, if I may, Laura, Laura and I are giving ourselves a little bit of challenge to hopefully add to the positive side of social media, to share some, you know,
Sparks of
sparks
inspiration.
sparks of inspiration on social. And so I was recording one of my sparks today for social media. So you're talking about Walden Pond and how this is a place where potentially it is the anti brain rot.
That's right.
So I was sharing this thing from the author Joseph Campbell, who
Hmm.
specialized in mythology. And during those famous interviews between the journalist Bill Moyers and Joseph Campbell, Bill asked Joseph Campbell, "What does it mean to have a sacred place?" And Joseph Campbell said, "You must have a room or a certain hour of the day where you do not know what was in the newspapers that morning. You don't know who your friends are. You don't know what you owe to anybody. You don't know what anybody owes to you, but a place where you can simply experience and bring forth what you are and what you might be. This is the place of creative incubation. And first, you may find that nothing's happening there, but if you have a sacred place and use it and take advantage of it, something will happen." And I think about this spark you're sharing with me today, which I feel I feel deeply called in, but also
Mm.
sparks that you've shared around the necessity for boredom, the
Yes.
necessity in the creative
Yes.
equation, the
And
necessity for boredom,
the attention economy, like
and the
where we put our
Laura.
attention. Yes.
Yes, I think about an amalgam of all of these sparks and my own, if I'm honest, my own challenges with it. And I think about what Joseph Campbell was saying about we have to have a place for creativity to exist and for our humanity to exist. We have to
Yes.
have a place like
Yes.
Walden Pond or a chair in
Yes.
your living room next to a record player where you listen to
Yes.
music that you love, like just that kind of a jam.
That's right. And lately, like for the past 3 weeks, I've been doing, I offered it up to all of our clients, but basically meeting like early morning, getting online
Yes.
and writing. And the beauty of it is, the only thing I do before starting to write is make coffee. So I make coffee and I get to it. And like just like Joseph Campbell said, I don't know the news that day. I don't know what's up and what's down,
Ah,
what's going on, and it doesn't matter. I haven't filled my brain with a whole bunch of other stuff. I'm just sitting down to write, and that has been such a gift, such a gift. And
love it.
I am aspiring. I also told you this happened kind of by accident because my sister and my nephew visited for like a week and we were so busy running around the city in a beautiful way that I didn't have time for watching any television for that entire week. And I
Wow.
remember saying to you, like, I haven't watched any of my shows, haven't watched anything for a week, and I'm going to try to keep it going because how much richer and more interesting have my days been not being filled up with I didn't even have time for I had my phone out all the time, of course, for taking photos of Robbie and Marcy and like the stuff we were doing, but I was not on my phone in that way,
Hmm.
you know what I mean? I
I
just
do.
didn't have time. And it was kind of beautiful. It's kind of beautiful. And so the challenge is like, I obviously can't keep up that pace of being that busy nonstop, but can I decide that when I have some downtime, that there are things that I can do that are analog, that are old school and not just consuming
Brain rotting.
brain rotting?
Nathan asked me a provocative question this past week, which was, what did you like to do before your phone? And I
There
was
you
like,
go.
ugh,
Can you remember?
I feel gross. I just remember reading a lot more.
I
That's
loved reading.
a lot
Yes.
more reading. A lot
Yep.
more reading.
And brain rot makes it difficult
It does.
for our brain to
Our
focus
attention
long enough.
spans
Yeah.
have definitely shortened.
I am building that muscle. Just period. Full stop. This whole thing got me feeling pretty down. Like the dumbing down of
Yeah.
the human race has been happening for hundreds of years. And it feels like we're just racing to the bottom faster than ever now, thanks to new technology that is more than happy to help us dumb ourselves down.
Yeah.
And we're willingly doing it.
Yeah.
We're consuming more slop faster than ever. So
Mm.
I started to intentionally think about its opposite. Like, what would it feel like?
The slopposite?
The opposite of brain rot. Good one, Suze. The opposite. What would it feel like to be putting things in my brain that feel like growing something?
Hmm.
Things that feel like neural synapses firing and
Mm-hmm.
connections being made in
I
my
love that.
brain. I love how that feels. I know you love how that feels, Susan. That feeling of a new idea that makes you feel alive, or learning an old idea that makes you feel connected to humans across time and space, or an idea that helps you understand someone else or yourself on a deeper level, an idea that creates space for more empathy in your brain. What if I commit to feeling more of that in the new year and feeding my brain whatever is needed for that to happen? It's not slop, that's for sure.
Yeah.
And then I was reminded of how at Blue Man Group, we used to talk about primordial soup or primordial ooze. If you're not familiar, primordial soup is a theory of how life was created on Earth. That the water, the gases in the atmosphere, the energy sources, the light and heat, all of it combined were so rich with organic matter that life simply sprang forth. And in the coming year, this is my resolution, because I'm pretty sure today is the day before January 1st. Am I right?
I think that's right.
Future me is saying these words. In the coming year, I want to commit to thinking of my brain like that. I want to treat it like it is fertile ground. It is primordial soup, filled with so many ideas and inspirations that the possibility of life and opportunity and growth is present all the time.
Mm.
All I have to do is feed it what it needs, and
Mm.
life will evolve from it.
Mm. And how do you think you're going to do it, Laura?
I am going to read more. I am going to make things with my hands. I
Yeah.
am going to consume theater and art and
Mm.
film that stirs my soul. I am
Mm-hmm.
going to challenge myself to try new experiences that feel scary but exciting.
Mm-hmm.
All of that.
Mm.
All of that is how I'm going to feed my brain what it needs.
That's
It
some good
is,
soup.
I invite you, Susan, I invite all of our listeners to join me. We would say at Blue Man that the goal of the show is to connect all of us on a primordial level, to create a heightened sense of being alive. As in, let's remember what it is to be human, to be alive. Let's remember that we all come from the same source material.
Mm.
And it's not slop.
Mm-mm.
That ain't where it's
That's
at.
very rich. Very rich.
It is possible for life to spring forth from any and all of us. In our world, of course, we're obsessed with life in the form of creativity. any and all creativity that fights for the powers of good. And I just want to invite you, Susan, and you, dear listeners, to imagine what might spring forth from you if only you feed your brain something other than slop. Let's not let our brains rot. Let's nourish our brains and invite more life to emerge in 2025.
I love this, Laura Camion. Right on time. Great message. Great message for
Listen,
the dawning new year. And it reminds me of the post it I have had on my computer for some time now. Consume less, create more.
create
And if I was
more.
going to get more specific, consume less slop,
Consume less slop.
create more. Yeah.
Create more. I feel like and I think I'm sharing this or have already shared this by this time on social, but last night I went to see on Broadway The Hills of California, and it is not an uplifting show. And nonetheless,
Uplifting because it's so fucking good.
I left there so energized. I'd been having a really hard week. I had been really struggling, feeling like a toddler, wanting to have a tantrum at all times about, like, I need a nap, I need food, I need this, I need that. Just feeling so not good. And then I went to see that show. I consumed a brilliant piece of art
Mm.
that made me feel connected to my friend Jenny, who I was there with, connected to these strangers who I spoke to at intermission because we were so moved by what we were experiencing. I felt connected to humanity.
Mm.
I felt reminded of what it feels like to be alive, this heightened sense of being alive. And God dang it, if that's not what it's all about, Suze, I don't even know why we're doing anything we're doing.
Mm. This is
That's
going to,
it right there.
that's going to be a good 2025. I think this is a wonderful thing to hold in our sights. It's a really, really good North Star. I'll say, if anybody is moved by this, if it's something that you want to jump on our bandwagon, come to the New Year's Creativity Kickoff. That is also anti slop. That is like
It's anti
rich,
slop.
fun deliciousness.
You'll be swimming around in primordial soup with other people.
Creativity bursting from your soup.
Creativity bursting from your soup.
There's our poll quote. There you go. There's our new marketing campaign.
There it is.
You'll leave with creativity bursting out of your soup.
Yeah.
Laura, that was beautiful and inspiring. And I have to tell you, in all seriousness, you have done several sparks that we just mentioned around the attention economy, boredom, and its necessity for creativity, this spark. And I think it was during attention economy that you talked about how I was expressing how hard it is, especially when I'm fatigued,
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
to to resist the pull of the scroll. And
Yeah.
you were like, and it's designed to be addictive. So it's but we have to take responsibility for
we do, we
ourselves.
have to, because you can't win against it. If you think like I can consume this slop and my attention span isn't changing, incorrect. It is. And it's just like we notice,
Incorrectamundo. Yeah.
when a lot of people over the course of the pandemic, like we stopped getting as much exercise or working out or whatnot. And um, people expressed like, oh, I feel out of shape. I don't feel as strong as I used to be. We notice it when we can't lift things that we used to be able to lift,
Correct.
right? Or we
Yeah.
can't run or walk as long as we
Yep.
could without. This is what's happening to our brains.
Yes.
It's the neurological equivalent, and we have to say, "Oh my gosh, I need to work out my brain a little bit more. I've
Yeah.
got to give it what it needs, or else, as my dad used to say, and he was talking about muscles, but he would say all the time, use them or lose them.
Yeah.
And so this is where our brain we're talking about, use it or lose it.
Laura, I appreciate the spark.
Thanks for
Happy
coming to my
almost
TED
New
Talk. I
Year.
really feel like I got a little soapboxy.
Uh,
Enjoy that.
I'll take it because it's gonna carry me through this 2025.
Let's dive it. You know what? When we have that little image that Jill Dreyer has of like the 10-meter tower and diving into it, I think in the bottom of it should be Primordial Soup that we're diving into.
Rich, creative,
Mhm.
primordial soup.
There we go.
That's it. This episode of The Spark File was made on the lands of the Lenape and the Mohican people. And as always, we hope it put another bunch of sparks in your file. Hey, listen, if there's a spark you'd like us to explore, or if you'd like to learn more about how to coach with us to accomplish your creative goals, email getcreative@thesparkfile.com, or you can reach us through our website, thesparkfile.com.
We'll even happily take your feedback, but you know the price of admission. First, you have to share a creative risk that you've taken recently.
You can follow us on social at The Spark File, and be sure to subscribe, rate, and 5-star review this podcast. It really helps other listeners to find us. Also, if you liked this podcast, we hope you'll share it with people that you love. And if you didn't like it, take your opinion and toss it into the avalanche of slop that's flowing by you.
Because we won't see it. If something lights you up and gets your creative sparks flying, we're writing you a forever permission slip to make that thing that's been knocking at your door. It's your turn to take that spark and fan it into a flame.
You know, you got to take it
and
make it.
When I bump into something that inspires me, I dump it in my spark file. Could be something that I wanna make or how I wanna be. I pump it in my spark file. I jump into my spark file. Let's open up the spark file.
Hi, friends. Susan Blackwell here. The new year is upon us, and even under the best of circumstances, the creative process can cover some pretty rocky terrain, and our spidey senses tell us 2025 may bring even more challenging conditions. Now more than ever, we believe everyone is creative, but smart creatives don't go it alone. That's why we hope you'll join us and other awesome creatives on January 1st for the SparkFile 2025 New Year Creativity Kickoff. At this one-day virtual retreat, you'll clarify what you want to create and how you want to get there. You'll meet other makers, you'll strengthen your creative resolve, and you'll leave with an action plan for making your creative dreams a reality. It's all happening on January 1st. Visit thesparkfile.com to register for the SparkFile 2025 New Year Creativity Kickoff and to take advantage of early registration incentives like lower pricing. Y'all, in 2025, let's link arms, fear less, and create more. We'll see you there.